All right, so with all these questions under the Articles of Confederation and with so many weaknesses, delegates from 12 of the 13 states agreed to come together and have a convention. And this convention was going to be about what are we going to do about our Constitution? Do we keep the Articles of Confederation and just change the weaknesses, or do we write something brand new? So in 1787 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, delegates got together at this convention. So the main purpose was to revise or improve the Articles of Confederation. They knew that there were weaknesses. They knew that there were a lot of political and economic questions that were raised from those weaknesses, and therefore they wanted to create a stronger Constitution and therefore a stronger federal government, so that way there wouldn't be rebellions like Shays' Rebellion. There wouldn't be dissension between states. The economy could get stronger, and that was really the biggest thing that they wanted to get going first. So strengthen the government, and like I said, every colony was represented except for Rhode Island. They chose not to attend. They said, nope, we want no part of this. We think the Articles of Confederation are fine. We kind of like it that our government is limited. We don't want a repeat of England and the way we had it before. And these meetings were kept secret. So even before the era of social media, there were still nosy people. There were reporters. There were people who were kind of gossiping and talking. So they said to prevent any information from leaking and having any outside influences telling us that we're crazy or we're great, and creating even more problems and tension within this convention, we're going to keep meeting secrets. So it's kind of like during a trial. Jurors are not allowed to leave or go home. They're not allowed to talk about it with their family or friends. And if they do, there's legal problems with that. So they kind of kept these meetings secret in a similar way. And each state had one vote in any matter, no matter how many representatives they had. So whether you had one person at this convention or whether you had 8 people at this convention, each of the 12 colonies, there's 12 states, had one equal vote. So we start to see a split between political groups, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. And again, the word political, one of our vocab words from Monday, means how you decide on certain things, where you stand on certain issues. So there were some people at this convention who felt that a stronger federal government was needed, and that was a group called the Federalists. And if you think about it, in the name Federalist, the word federal is at the root of that word. So they were in favor of a stronger federal government. They were in favor of a federal government kind of running and controlling things. So I asked you at the beginning of our class today, would you be in favor of the principal, the federal government in our school, dictating and saying how everything's going to go right down to the smallest detail? And if you do, then you would likely have sided with the Federalists. But if you thought that it was better to have the teachers kind of in charge of their own classes and making most of the decisions on how they're going to teach, what specific parts of the content they're going to teach, then you would likely side with the Anti-Federalists. So the Federalists supported a new constitution, and they wanted a bigger, stronger federal government, not to control the people, but to take care of the people. The stronger your government is, the more protection they can provide, and also the more help they can provide to boosting your economy and making the country a place of wealth. Many of these Federalists felt that the Articles of Confederation made the government too weak. Now, speaking of wealth, a lot of these Federalists were people who were wealthy, who were well educated, living along the coast. So a lot of people in Massachusetts and a lot of people in Virginia, they kind of represented this Federalist faction or this Federalist political group. Some of the important Federalists included people like James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay. And these 3 individuals collectively wrote a group of 71, I believe, or no, 87 essays. So 87 documents or articles, blogs, if you will, about why the country needed a stronger federal government, why a stronger federal government would be a good thing, and why the Constitution, they should vote to ratify it, and why they should adopt this new Constitution and get rid of the Articles of Confederation. So it was really like they were sending out ad campaigns. So the Federalist Papers were really like a group of papers that were campaigning in favor of this new Constitution and in favor of a strong federal government. So they promoted a Republican or representative form of government where the people would cast their votes on representatives who would serve them in government and bring about the will of the people. Now, to try and calm down the Anti-Federalists who were afraid of tyranny and who were afraid of another England repeat, they said, look, we're not going to have the federal government have too much power. We're just going to give the federal government more power to protect the country and to keep things more in order. Because under the Articles of Confederation, we had rebellions and we had fighting and we had questions about who can do this and how can they do it. So we're going to have the federal government determine that, but we're going to split it up into three separate but equal branches. And that was really one of the main themes of the Federalist Papers. So they said, we're going to take the powers of the government and give one group the power to write laws. Okay, that's going to be the legislative branch. We're going to have one group that's going to enforce the laws or make sure that laws are being followed. That's the executive branch. And then we're going to have a third branch, which was not in existence under the Articles of Confederation, and that's the judicial branch, who is going to be in charge of creating a court system to determine and settle disputes and to help interpret the laws and determine what do these laws mean, what can we do with them, what can't the government do because of these laws, and how is it going to protect our individual rights.